because I've been reading this book and found it so life changing. So yeah, I mean, like some of the questions I have about the book, uh, Loretta, is that about the four hormones, yeah, and you've mentioned serotonin, dopamine, oxytocin, and endorphin. Is there any among the four of this hormone, are there any one that is more apparent, or like have like we need more, or are they equally equal in term of the
Um,
yeah. That's my son. He thinks that we
Hi.
can't see him. We can see him. Say hello. Good morning.
Hi. Good morning.
So endorphin is the least important. That is for
Okay.
emergencies only.
Mm-hmm.
Dopamine is the most important because that motivates you to take action. And when you want the others, dopamine is what motivates you to take action to get the others.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So basically, how about like oxytocin? I read, I understand that oxytocin is about bonding. This is where we need that social acceptance, and I also believe that this is something that we get from our family, our spouse, and our children. And a lot of people will put a lot of emphasis on getting oxytocin, but you've mentioned the other two. How about oxytocin? Is it least not so important?
It's important, but not every minute of every day. In fact, it's more important when you don't have it. When you don't have it, you're worried about it, but when you have it, you take it for granted, and then you want the others, right? So a simple example is when an animal is with the herd, then it's protected in case a predator comes. But if an animal follows the herd all the time, it's very frustrating because then they get in their way and they want to go off and find their own food. But if they go too far away when they look for food, then a predator can eat them and they're dead in a minute. So then they come back to the herd. So it's a constant decision of how much of my energy do I want to spend with my group, and how much of my energy do I want to spend exploring the world.
So when you did your research, it is based on mammals, right? So I mean, because we are mammals, so which animal are we closest to if we would like to see the behavior? Because is it elephants, is it cats are mammal, right?
No, it's apes. And there are 4 kinds of apes, and you have one of them in Asia, orangutan.
Yeah.
So yes, so I've actually been to Borneo to look for the orangutan. I forgot what's the name. Is it Kalimantan?
Yeah, I think they are quite you can find them a lot in Sabah and Sarawak. Yeah.
I didn't go as far. I didn't go as far as Sabah. So that's why I didn't see them.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'll have to go back.
Please, I'll be more than happy to probably accompany your journey and observe the orangutan, because I've never seen orangutan that way. But after reading your book, then looking at even looking at the stray cats around my housing area, I start to analyze their behavior and understanding now. There is an alpha male, and then there's some cats that don't get along and they fight. And because one observation that I found very intriguing was when I fed one of the stray cats, male stray cats, and I put the food just outside of the gate of my house, and he was very, very careful. He didn't he didn't immediately eat the food.
Good.
He was looking around.
That's the oxytocin thing, is we're meant to make careful decisions about when to trust rather than to just trust everybody all the time. So we want to have support, but if you just accepted food from everyone, then some bad things might happen. Right. So we make decisions about when to accept support by gathering information. Good. And people listening, if they haven't read the book, you may think, well, we're not supposed to act like apes.
Mhm.
And so the point is that our happy chemicals are controlled by the part of the brain that's the same as apes. So humans have this part at the core, which controls our emotional chemicals. And then we have a big thing on top that only humans have, which allows us to think about the future and to think in words, but it does not control our chemicals. And that's why it's so important to understand the ape part of the brain.
I understand. Yeah, so I mean, I just want to ask as well, on if we can control the way that we perceive the world, and because I believe that post pandemic and during the pandemic, a lot of people were people are unhappy all the time, pandemic or post pandemic or whenever economic meltdown. People are just unhappy, you know. I mean, I'm guilty as charged, you know. I'm all right, actually. I mean, I have a roof over my head, I have food on the table, but occasionally I mean, quite sometimes I find myself in a very dark place where I know I'm complaining about my life. Now, how do we stop that, and how do we, you know, find that happiness, if it's all because now I look at it, it's scientific and it's not
Yes.
emotion,
Yes.
you know,
Yes.
and how do we like, or you are, you know, I see a lot of people go about blaming their spouse, or you're not making me happy, or the government's not making me happy. So,
Yeah.
what's your take on that? What's your advice?
Sure. Well, first, I put something in the chat to tell you that this is the subject of my next book called The Science of Positivity: Stop Negative Thought Patterns by Changing Your Brain Chemistry. So a simple answer would be, our brain is designed to look at the bad side, because in nature, a threat can kill you very fast. So if you have to choose between food and threat, you focus on the threat first, and then you look for food. Then after food, you look for social support and social status. So when we have a habit of always looking for threat, then we trigger threat chemical, and then that tells us to look for more threat. That's the subject of my next book. After that, I'm going to write the name of that. It's called Tame Your Anxiety: Rewiring Your Brain for Happiness.
So The Science of Positivity: Stop Negative Thought Patterns by Changing Your Brain Chemistry. This is already available on Amazon.
Yes. And Tame Your Anxiety is also on Amazon. And I just want to say about the pandemic. Yes, that's a great example, because the people complained before the pandemic, you know, about your commute to work and your boss. Then suddenly you didn't have to see your boss every day. You didn't have to commute. Then people were upset about that. Then when they had to go back to work, then they were upset about that. So people will see the negative in everything, because that's our brain. That's how our brain works. So it takes a lot of effort to wire your brain to focus on the positive.
Yeah. So basically, you're saying that when we are born, we are wired, or is this social conditioning?
So every brain is wired by experience. So from the moment you're born, you're wired by the experiences that happen to you. But negative experiences have a lot of weight. And the way to think about that is, you have no roads in your brain when you're born, no highways in your brain. You have billions of neurons, but they're not connected. And you start building connections from experience. And the chemicals that make you feel good or bad are like the paving on your highways in your brain. So when a baby has a good experience, it builds a pathway to the good chemical. When a baby has a bad experience, it builds a pathway to the bad chemical. And then we turn the chemicals on using the pathways we have.
Okay, so basically, if we, okay, can I put a scenario like a scenario saying, oh, I've been brought up in a bad family and they're very negative. So everything that, within that family, it's negative. So that's why I'm like this today. How do we?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
because
First,
yeah.
let me give you another scenario.
Okay.
A person grows up in a good family
Mhm.
and they have been with their family all the time, so they have never built any confidence in themselves because they need to be with their family. They're used to their family doing everything for them, and they're afraid to face the world alone. So no matter what situation you grow up in life is hard. Many people who grew up in a bad family have a lot of self-confidence because they learn to do things themselves. So everyone has strengths and weaknesses, and everyone has the power to build new pathways that you want. And my focus is always decide what pathway you would rather have. So I'm not telling you to lose weight or to eat better food, which is what all other books tell you, because you have to decide. So let's say that you think you came from a lot of negativity, and I certainly did. And so how can I wire myself to be happy? So first, I have to give myself permission to be happy, because many people think you're not allowed to be happy because the other people with you are not happy. And if they get angry at you and say, well, you have no right to be happy because then you're not sharing the burden, or if you're happy, you're stupid because then you're not being careful enough. So in order to be happy, you have to say, I have decided that I'm going to be happy whether other people are happy or not. And I don't care what they say, I'm going to be happy anyway. And